Hey guys, welcome to the Sim Racing Paddock. I'm William Marsh, and I wanted to talk about a term that is oh so common in the sim racing community, PC Master Race. That just implies that PC racing and other gaming on the PC is superior to the console. And I have actually noticed that to be kind of true, especially in this latest generation. We've seen a lot of games this generation specifically hindered by poor frame rates and a subpar gaming experience to the PC. So I wanted to take a deeper look and see why is that the case? And the answer I found is actually kind of interesting, so I wanted to share that with you guys. So right now, let's take a look and see why do we get a better gaming experience and especially a better sim racing experience on the PC. So let's look back at 2005. In 2005, a top of the line gaming computer would be seen as having maybe 1 gigabyte of RAM, 256 to 512 megabytes of video RAM, having a dual core CPU clocked at maybe 3.0 gigahertz. Enter the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. For their time, at their first release, they actually represented a pretty good gaming PC. They were both powered by multi-core processors. The Xbox 360 had a 3-core, 6-thread processor clocked at about 3.2 gigahertz, and the PlayStation 3 had a 7-core system clocked at about 3.2 gigahertz as well. Admittedly, some people say that the GPU on those systems were a little underpowered, but at least the PlayStation 3 had the capability of offloading some of their processes onto the CPU for graphic rendering. Titles such as Uncharted 3, Journey, and others used that and made some beautiful looking titles on the PlayStation. All the while having a powerful CPU backing up their calculations and simulations. However, some people did say that it was difficult to make multi-platform titles, and you would notice a fairly big rift between the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC for multi-platform titles. Even though the consoles were kind of difficult to develop for, we did see some solid simulation titles such as Gran Turismo 5, the early Forza Motorsport titles, Race Pro, Ferrari Racing Challenge. We saw those great racing titles on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Now let's fast forward to 2013. Then we had the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. And back then we were seeing and are seeing now some incredible looking games. However, it seems that the simulation and immersion factor we are sort of lacking compared to the last generation. So what the heck is going on? And why are we seeing frame rate struggles with titles such as Assetto Corsa, Project Cars, F1 titles, and so on the consoles? And the simple answer is, while they are focusing on this incredible visual experience, while they are focusing on the graphics side, the central processing is being left in the dust. And that is actually struggling with the computing and the simulation side. As mentioned before, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 had CPUs clocked at 3.2 gigahertz, and they were 6-thread and 7-thread respectively. Now we are seeing full legitimate 8-core 64-bit processors, but in the stock configuration, they were clocked at less than 2 gigahertz, and that really hurt. The Xbox One was clocked at a staggeringly low 1.6 gigahertz. That is astounding, and you can really tell in the performance. I'm going to show you some footage from DigitalFoundry's benchmarking of some racing titles, and you can definitely see that those titles are struggling to get to the 60 frames per second mark. I will provide links below to the full video, but they state that the CPU serves as a true bottleneck for these titles, and that's why they aren't able to get to the 60 frames per second mark. And the reason we're getting such struggles with this system is because of the architecture that was utilized for the CPU for the consoles. The CPUs are utilizing the AMD Jaguar platform. For those of you who don't know, that platform is intended for mobile devices. However, Microsoft and Sony were able to modify it to fit their needs, and it works okay for non-dynamic environments. But when you get to the dynamic environment of an open world title or a racing simulation, that's when the platform starts to crumble in on itself and you get major frame rate struggles. Even look at what happened with the PlayStation 4 Pro. Even though it features over a half a gigahertz jump in clock speed on the CPU, that's only to about 2.3 gigahertz. And that is still seeing a lack of true locked 60 frames per second in the performance. And that is sad to see. These racing titles could have been great, they could have been amazing, but the platform for the CPU has really held it back, and it's made it really difficult for racing game developers to actually be able to achieve that 60 frames per second mark. Heck, we've heard struggles from Polyphony Digital, and they're the manufacturers of Gran Turismo, the PlayStation's premier racing franchise. If they're struggling to hit 60, we're in a lot of trouble, guys. So with this latest generation, we are having this struggle with creating these dynamic racing titles. And I believe because of that lack of CPU power in the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and also the Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro, that is why we haven't seen a major revolution in this console generation. We have seen Forza Motorsport 7 and the upcoming Gran Turismo Sport offering some new features, but we aren't seeing things like the dynamic tire wear. We're not seeing the flat spotting. We're not seeing the track rubbering up. We're not seeing the dynamic weather. And that is disappointing to see from a racing title enthusiast. However, I will say, not all hope is lost. There are rumors that this next generation of consoles in the next couple years or so are going to be moving to a more powerful CPU architecture, namely AMD's Ryzen platform. And if they do that, if they don't skimp out on the CPU power on the next generation of consoles, then we should likely see a great improvement on the capabilities of racing simulators. And I believe that could also bring a greater level of fidelity to the PC racing side. So these are my thoughts on why we aren't seeing racing titles at the level of fidelity on the consoles as we are seeing on the PC. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think is holding the console racing market back? Let us know in the comments. Also, if you like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button down below and help keep us on track. Also, check out simracingpaddock.com where we have some information on upcoming community events. For the Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and you have a great rest of your day.